As September begins, I can feel the subtle shift in the air and in my little balcony garden. The intense summer heat has slowly faded, giving way to gentle, fresh mornings. September feels like a new beginning, not loud or dramatic, but enough to stir a quiet excitement in the heart. I step out onto my balcony, just a few square meters, yet it has become an entire world of its own over the past months. Today, this tiny garden is hosting freshly sown seeds: bok choy, Gina bok choy, giant bok choy, lettuce, green onions, hung lui, tomatoes, cucumbers, and kai dung. It's only the beginning, but already, in my heart, a season of hope is sprouting. I remember that morning clearly, tidying up the balcony. The old pots, exhausted from the summer sun, were dry and compacted, almost lifeless. I crouched down, gently loosening the soil, removing leftover roots from the previous season. Sweat dotted my forehead, yet my heart felt light, like when you clean out a room, tossing away the unnecessary to make space for something new. I prepared each pot of soil with a care I didn't even know I had. I mixed in some finely crushed eggshells, a bit of compost, and sprinkled a thin layer of coconut coir to keep it airy. I thought about each type of vegetable I was about to plant. Bok choy would need rich nutrients, green onions thrive in well-drained soil, while tomatoes and cucumbers require soil abundant in organic matter to support their stems and vines. I planned it all in my mind, as if arranging a long-awaited feast, where every guest receives special care. Once the soil was ready, I opened each seed packet. Holding the tiny dark brown bok choy seeds in my hand, I marveled at how small they were. If one fell on the floor, it would be almost impossible to pick up. Yet from these tiny seeds, in just a few days, plump green seedlings would sprout. I gently scattered the seeds on the soil, covering them with a thin layer, patting the surface softly as if wishing them a peaceful sleep. I imagined the next days, when little green sprouts would peek through the soil like tiny green dots on a brown canvas. I did the same with Gina bok choy and giant bok choy. Gina bok choy sounded exotic, and I was eager to see how its leaves would differ. Giant bok choy made me imagine broad, lush leaves, enough to wrap a handful of noodles or fill a stir-fry plate. I planted each seed with care, placing my trust in the unseen yet certain promise of growth. Unlike bok choy, lettuce seeds were tiny and light, almost ready to drift away with the wind. I cupped my hands over them, afraid a gust might carry them off. I planted various types, curly and round-leafed, so that when harvest came, my table would host a miniature salad garden. I pictured myself picking the tender leaves, rinsing them under the faucet, and plating them with ripe cherry tomatoes, a drizzle of olive oil, a pinch of salt and pepper. Simple, yet far fresher and tastier than any restaurant salad. Planting the green onions brought a smile to my face. I've always loved them, not just for flavor, but for the warmth and familiarity they bring. A hot bowl of soup is instantly complete with a few slices of fresh green onion. I sowed them in neat rows, thinking, in just a few weeks, I'll have lush green bunches ready to snip. Next came hung lui. I didn't sow seeds, but used small cuttings, planting them directly into the soil. I remembered pressing each branch gently into the earth and watering lightly. The fragrant herb has a unique scent that instantly soothes. I loved imagining my balcony always carrying that delicate aroma, especially on breezy afternoons. Tomatoes and cucumbers would take longer. I started them in small trays, planning to transfer them to bigger pots once the seedlings were strong enough. Tomatoes, with their future yellow blossoms that will become bright red fruit, always make my heart race. For cucumbers, I pictured the tiny tendrils, trusses reaching skyward, soon bearing cool, crisp fruits. Thinking of that day made me giddy with anticipation. Finally, kai dung, a simple vegetable, yet one that brings back memories of home-cooked meals. I planted it in loving with soil and watering gently. I could already imagine a comforting bowl of kai dung soup with dried shrimp, sweet and light, perfect for cool, drizzly days. Perhaps it was childhood memories that made me love this humble vegetable so much. When everything was planted, I stood back and looked at the balcony. The pots sat neatly, their surfaces dark and moist after watering, but in my heart, I knew a new garden was forming. Planting seeds is like planting hope. Today there's nothing yet, but tomorrow and the day after, life will emerge. In the following days, the first thing I did each morning was step onto the balcony, searching for tiny signs of life. Within a few days, tiny green dots appeared. Bok choy was first. Small, rounded seedlings. Standing close together, I cheered like a child. They've sprouted. Gina and giant bok choy followed, each slightly different, yet equally charming. Lettuce was slower, but when the tender leaves finally unfolded, soft and pale green, my heart softened. Green onions began to sprout slender, thread-like shoots. Hung lui cuttings took root, showing lush green leaves once more. I crouched down, touching the leaves, letting the fragrance linger on my fingertips. Tomatoes and cucumbers required patience. Nearly a week passed before they sprouted, but when their tiny cotyledons broke through the soil, it felt like witnessing a miracle. Kaidung grew fast, covering the trays with uniform green in just a few days. Every day, I watered, observed, and even spoke to the plants. It might sound strange, but I believe they respond to love. I told them about the day I hoped to harvest the first bok choy, the hot noodles with fresh green onions, the crunchy salad leaves, the ripe red tomatoes under the sun, and even the refreshing cucumber water. I trusted that these tiny seeds could feel the affection I poured into them. September passed quietly, filled with simple joys. I no longer felt confined by the busy city. My balcony had become a sanctuary, a place of peace after a long day. Every tender leaf, every sprouting shoot reminded me that life can always begin anew, if we plant seeds of hope. At night, I would sit by the window, gazing at the balcony. The pots rested quietly under the soft, yellow glow, yet I knew that beneath the soil, life was growing silently. My heart felt calm. Perhaps the September garden wasn't just about vegetables. It was teaching me patience, hope, and how to cherish life's smallest wonders. And so, my journey with the September garden had only just begun. I knew surprises awaited. I would continue watering, observing, and sharing stories with the plants. I would wait for the first bundle of bok choy to harvest, snip green onions, pick hung lui leaves, and gently lift ripe red tomatoes. These moments aren't just the fruits of labor. They are the essence of love, patience, and a September full of hope.